Hall meeting to order. Hello. Good evening. Welcome everyone to our Town Hall meeting. Just take care of a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have someone that comes up, you still need to state your name and your address. And we really want this to be productive. It's to help us communicate with you. And if we don't have an answer, then we'll take turns and pick something that we can get back with you. And you have a person that gets up and you have that same question. If you just want to acknowledge that y'all have that same question, you just kind of put up your hands so we know that this is a big question that we really need to probably get back out on the internet or something, letting y'all know what's going on. So I'm opening it up to you. We'll do our best to answer any questions. It's very informal and it belongs to you. Yes, sir.
Bill Hamilton, 212 Howard 98. I have a request and a statement. The request would be to microphone all the speakers at the table and the podium. I see a lot of people with gray hair and no hair, and all might have the same hearing problem I do. And I had a hard time hearing several of the people this morning. And one meeting I had to be back in the corner almost to look it up on Facebook. So if you could see about miking everybody, that would be appreciated.
I've actually been on Amazon.
I'm in the back row, and I second that.
Now, a suggestion, as an epiphany the other night, middle of the night, thought it would be good for the fishermen and for the city if we could arrange with whoever owns these ice vending machines around town to have installed down at the boat ramp area. I don't know what financial arrangements they have with the people that own the property that they're on, but be in keeping with either going to share the profits or flat monthly rate or whatever. But if we could establish that facility down by the boat ramp, I think it would be good for the city, make a little money out of it too. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can speak on his question about the ice machine. So we talked with them once before about putting one down there. That didn't really go anywhere because it's St. Joe on land. Maybe somebody has some connections, but we did talk with them about putting a second one down there. We have installed a second ice maker on there, so it produces about 16,000 pounds a day. But when a boat comes up and buys 20 bags of ice, not Mr. Art, but I know Mr. Art fishes like we do. I mean, one boat, 4 or 5 boats do it, and it doesn't take long, and you can't keep up. Yeah, and it takes about an hour and 45 minutes for it to produce enough poundage for it to kick back on, and then once it sells out of that, it's down again until it produces another couple thousand pounds, and then it'll let it.
Yeah, on a holiday we did like 4th of July and all that. Everybody in town was out.
Oh yeah, everybody was out. Yeah.
I finally got something to say, Joe. They didn't know it had already been investigated, but.
Yes. And nobody really knows it, so, well, they will now. There's one, if you turn at CVS to the left,
Yeah.
where Gander's Fuel Depot is.
Right.
There's another one right there, and most of the tourists, they just hit the one up by Gant's Barbecue, so.
Familiar with that, I usually guess.
Yes, sir.
I think the problem would be that the boat ramp would be that the St. Joe Company owns the land.
That's what we
And
ran.
you can't, as personally, I'd love to have one down there. It'd be a money-making proposition. The St. Joe Company owns the land.
Well, and we've looked at renting from them, we looked at renting from them in Port St. Joe too, but they don't
Yeah,
do a lot of that, so.
Yeah. All put down for the comments.
But if we can make it work, we'll put one down there.
Right.
All right, next.
Tim Linderman, 105 St. Francis. So this morning I gave you a handout with some information about stormwater. Is there a 3-minute clock?
No.
Okay. So what I put on in front of your table was this map that I discovered. You really need it to see the ditches they're referring to. And so what I really wanted to bring to you, a recommendation is, I'm not here to poke anybody in the eye about the stormwater situation and what has or hasn't occurred. But as I've looked at this, I believe, first off, it's a very complex problem. And I think we've been piecemeal on it, is the way it appears to me. And so I would recommend first that the staff, not me, I'm not the expert, just a guy poking my nose around, but that your staff, and Tommy Davis is really up to speed on a lot of this, and so is David Risen from Dewberry. And to get them, and I know that Mr. Smith is pretty familiar with a lot of this from what my poking around that I've found out. But to get them to update you, and I think they need to update you on, so what I handed out was the executive summary to the 2015 Stormwater Master Plan. And I think they need to update you on, okay, so what's been done, what hasn't been done, where are we at, what are the challenges we have? And I can tell you a lot of it's money, it's resources. Talking with Tommy, we don't have the equipment in the city to do a lot of the ditch cleaning, the cleaning of the swells, which is recommended to be done once a year by this master plan, if you look through it. After Hurricane Michael, I know that FEMA paid for, we did clean out a lot of the ditches, debris, and I'm told a lot of the buildup of soils and dirt and vegetation, which is very important to keep these flowing correctly. And I will tell you, my impression is a lot of the work that was just done on some of the ditches, they're not flowing downhill. They're water stagnant. I don't know how they went about it, what they did, but it doesn't seem like it was a very thought out process, or I don't know. Were they just put sod in there, or was the intent to be able to collect the water? And again, I said this is very complex because we've had many years of neglect, inability to fix things. We've had a lot of help from people that live here as they build their houses. They have filled in many of these ditches. They have added their own pipes in different directions, so the flow may be correct, it may not be correct. We've had a lot of pipes damaged. The one on Florida, my understanding is, it collapsed in many areas, so that's being repaired. But this is a very complex system, and it consists of our canals, ditches, and several piping systems. And they all flow into the canals and out into the Gulf. And I know, probably because of Hurricane Michael and all the tree damage, I think we've seen an increase in tannins in the waters, and it goes out into our Gulf. And there's not much we can do about that right now. There are some ways to help with that. Much of it would be to plant more trees and absorb a lot of this. And I think you need to look at this in the bigger picture. And what I mean by is outside of Mexico Beach proper. I know Ms. Hamilton is involved with the Bay and Gulf County Estuary program as the liaison. I've looked at some of the things they're doing. In our watershed, we have two creeks, from the Salt Creek and I can't remember the name of the other one. Sorry.
Panther Swamp?
No, but anyway, a lot of the water that comes in the canals, Cypress, that comes in is from those two creeks. And they come from outside the city, from the Desiree properties, the St. Joe properties. And one of the things that are going on that affect that, I don't know what's going on at the end of Joe Drive right now, but I know that there's a lot of clearing out there beyond the city and logging on it. That will affect our watershed. If you look on the Gulf County side of 386, on the, I don't know if that's the north end of town, they've cleared a huge area out there. That's going to affect. So I think you got to look at this, not just Mexico Beach. It's important what we, and I've talked about this before. Our wetlands are important in this. I would advocate, and I've talked about this, purchasing some property that may be wetlands or that water can go over, to divert some of this stormwater into detention ponds and as part of the process. This is a complicated process, and I've talked with Michael about this. I think we're in agreement that what you really need is a comprehensive stormwater plan. And I think we're kind of lacking that. And I'm not saying we're not attacking pieces of this. And I'm going to tell you, especially after talking about Tommy, much of this is outside of our capability and resources. And that brings me kind of back to the budget. I know you're working hard on a budget. What I don't see a lot of, in my opinion, is there are some future bills coming. This is one of them. What are we doing to pay for this? Are we, I know we have a reserve fund, and I know nobody wants to maintain the millage rate or increase it. But I tell you, we need to be looking at the future when we start talking about millage rates and taxes and where we're going. And we have a number of developments that are coming here, and we need to seriously look at how they're handling the stormwater and make sure that they're doing the right thing. We have a lot of problems here with stormwater that have been created by our own residents. So again, that's my recommendation. And then from that, I think the council, with the help of the expertise, could then develop priorities, come up with a long-range plan, look for resources. I gave you in that packet 4 grants that I'm aware of that could help address some of these problems with erosion and stormwater. Unfortunately, most of them are 50-50. Maybe next year we go after state appropriations for this sort of thing, funding a master plan that would fit in this for stormwater, possibly. There's just a number of things. And I think you could tap into citizens committees or the planning and zoning board for some of this research. That you don't need to take all this on yourself. I don't think you need to become the experts. But I think you need to be the leader and the one who sets the priorities and allocates the resources and identifies, from the citizens where we want to go. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Tim? Thank you.
Lisa Logan, Maryland.
Hang on, just go ahead.
Just to add to what Tim said, one of the things that y'all have to look at when you start looking at stormwater and comprehensive things that are going on around us, not just in our 4 square miles, but you have to understand that Desiree Ranches has affected us severely, and no one ever talks about that. In 2014-15, the Church of the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, purchased that St. Joe land and turned it into a massive cattle ranching operation. And they clear-cut hundreds of acres of pine forest directly behind us. So this was just a few years, well, 14, 15, and then 18, the hurricane hit. So we lost our ability to absorb water before it even got to us. And the city must start trying to figure out some way to handle that excess of water that's coming in because of that ranching operation, and also the groundwater pollution from the ranching operation that seeps into the groundwater and then flows down here. So Tim is right on spot. We have to look outside the city, which I've been saying for years, and look at all the things that are going on around us because we are not isolated anymore. And all of that drains into us. So it would not hurt to, reach out to the Mormon church and see if you can get them to talk to you about some things. But keep it on your mind.
Yeah, Tim King. And actually the Mormons cleared thousands of acres, not hundreds.
Yeah, you're right.
But one thing I see when I see developers come in here and they talk about, like, especially the ones building on the canals, and they talk about, we're going to do this to protect, we're going to do this to protect. I think if you look down at Pasco County, Florida, what happened down there with their canals, over time, things get poured into the canals. I mean, from the homeowners, just from fertilizing your grass. And then next thing you know, you got a terrible bloom in your canals and, you know, it's a mess. So that's something to think about too.
Okay, you had something, go ahead.
Yeah, I think everyone was spot on, especially in terms of creating a comprehensive stormwater plan and one that has clear action items and deliverables over the long range. Tim brought up the millage rate, which I'm sure we'll dive in pretty in depth tomorrow. So I don't want to spoil too much of the discussion. But he's exactly right. It takes money to fund some of these projects. Now, we are heavily reliant on that. So it's not just necessarily do we keep it the same, do we raise it, do we lower it. I think this city, my recommendation would be to look at diversifying your revenue streams. So for example, in my last city, we added a stormwater utility service fee. For the average home, it was about $6 a month. It ended up bringing in the city $500,000. But when you add these different revenue streams, we can continue to either hold or reduce the millage rather than just rely on that one. So that's all I'd share.
And the training that I went to down in South Florida, you know, they talked about the different types of fees that we could really diversify our revenue with. Yeah, that's a great idea. You know, you and I had talked when you first got here, or shortly after you got here, that I felt we need to have some type of planning committee that really digs in deep to, along with you and Carly and, you know, some citizens, really digs in and become a committee to do some comprehensive planning for us. And you always want to have the citizens' input because, you know, we've got so many smart people and they've got some great ideas of, you know, like you come from somewhere else and you've had some experience with that. So I think that's a really good idea to think about.
Absolutely.
Any next? Come on. Oh, okay, we'll do that.
Council, Diane Kenny,
Hey, Doug.
223 Kim Cove. I wasn't at the meeting this morning, but I was listening to it, and I did have a question. It was a little confusing. Ms. Hamilton, can you explain why you voted against the 2023 job description? Okay.
I was concerned about the $10,000 availability of the administrator to spend. I think that's something that we need to think about, whereas the one from 2018 was less than that. So I just think that's something that needs to be considered.
But it is true that the 2018 job description basically leaves the verbiage saying that it's under the city council, the 2023 is, but the 2018 version said it's left blank. I mean, it seems like you guys would want to work as a council. That was the thing I think that really concerned me.
That was
makes
not my
sense?
concern. My concern was what I just stated.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Shelby Bush, 130 Palm Street. I'm confused all the way around. If it's being changed, why wasn't it looked at before? I mean, this area, I didn't even know what it said until everybody started talking today. And the vote happened and it was 3-2. And it's not something, I've been very busy all day. I did not go home and look at that. The difference between the two, what was going on there? Can you explain that to me? Or someone?
There are three differences in the job descriptions
Okay,
that I found on a quick look this morning.
Okay.
I didn't dive back into it. The 2023 has it as an exempt employee. 2018 has it non-exempt, which means...
okay, stop again.
Okay.
Say it slow.
Okay, so 2018 says non-exempt, which
Okay.
means they're hourly. 2023 says exempt, which means they're salaried.
Gotcha.
We've been salaried as far as I know, so I think it's probably a typo in 2018, I don't know.
Okay.
The other one I saw was the purchasing authority in 2018 is 3,000 for the general fund and 5,000 for enterprise. And in 2023, it's 10,000, which matches our current city ordinance. And the other change is on the back side under supervision received and exercised. 2023 says work is performed under the supervision of the city council. 2018 says nothing. It is blank.
So it was being supervised by no one.
Well, job description says it's blank.
Well, you also have to realize that the ordinance says that they work at the pleasure of the council, which means they come to the council to be hired as well as fired. So
Okay.
it really is kind of a moot point.
Okay, because a lot of people get up and spoke about that this morning, and I understand why you voted against it.
And I brought that up early on in my sitting as mayor, that we might want to change that amount from the 10,000, and it was voted down that day, so.
Okay. And the other thing I was going to ask about this morning, and I think you were speaking as I walked in, I was a few minutes late. You were talking about putting things in the past and coming together and working as a team. And I certainly, and because I brought it up, that I know, Adrian, you had spoken about that before, the ugliness on Facebook, family members, and things being put out there, and the name calling. Have you thought about, sometimes it's not so easy to put things in the past and move forward. This is all very, very new. And council members change out every 2 years. And have you thought about, we've got 2 years to go, maybe bringing in somebody to mediate and work with you as a team, where maybe you can come together more as a team? I'm not going to say it's always going to be a 3-2 vote, or, in the past, there were a lot of 3-2 votes. And I think that's why you're sitting right where you're at. People in this area spoke up and said, we elected council people to think for themselves, not just one person that thinks for three. And it would be interesting to go back and see how many 3-2 votes happened. And I truly believe that's why you're there. I think anybody that would have been running last year or this year would have had a great chance of winning, whether it would have been you, anybody in this room, because I think the citizens spoke up and said, we want change. And change is important, but working together as a team is what is very, very important, because it all comes down to what's been brought forward already about what's going on with our infrastructure. And, you mentioned earlier about touring the new homes over here. We talked months ago about the overload on our sewage system. There are so many things that you, very, very smart people, can take care of if you come together and work together. And then, if you're not satisfied next year, vote people out, just like what happened here. But while we're here, we're starting to look like the national scene, where you have people still saying Biden stole the election. We're better than that. We're a nice community and good people, good hearts. And I just think coming together and working together is so important. And if you need somebody to mediate that, bring a mediator in and work with that. We don't always, and today I understand, but we don't want people coming out of here and say, oh, it's the boys against the girls, or it's the women against the men, or, you know, used to be the good old, you know, boys, or comments being made. I walked out of here today and I heard somebody being called a schoolyard bully. You know, we just talked about being a little bit kinder. So, think about it. I understand where you're coming from.
Thank you, thank you.
Like,
I would like to say, thank you, first off. When I ran because I wanted change. And I seen the changes that we needed to have. Not anything about Mr. Kathy. It was time for us to have a change. And I ran hand in hand with this young man here the year before.
You both stood on my porch.
together,
Yes,
at the same time.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
it was a team with the same vision.
We had the same vision. I had spoken, you know, I ran against Mr. Wolf. We ran against each other for council. And after, I didn't know him from Adam, but after he ran and won, he and I had a very long, nice talk, and I was so impressed with him. And so when I ran, no offense, Jerry, I think you out, but I know you.
I like you to take me out. I like it over him all over the world.
You're good, you're
Thank
good. Okay, so, and Jerry and I had discussions before too, as I was a citizen. But, you know, my feelings when I ran and actually won the election is I was coming to a council that we were really gonna get things done because we had the same vision. We had the same focus. And it has been very disappointing for the past few months. But you know what? It's time to just take down, reflect, and move forward. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be accountable for me and my job to the citizens who elected me. And the council has to be accountable to their job that the citizens elected them for. And we're gonna move forward, and we're gonna be fine, and we're gonna work with you guys, because that's where I was, and that's where I want to do, that's why this is important to me. This is very important to me that we hear you guys and we work together, not only here, but with you.
My only thing to add with more of a humor for you is I'm on day 10 of Facebook sobriety, and it's the best thing I've done. I deactivated my account, it's been great.
He's so glad.
Well,
And my daughter said, do the same thing.
I'm sure I'll come back, but
Uh-huh.
yeah.
But I understand where your family was coming from, because now, and it's just plain crazy. You know, I'm a former educator and a school administrator, and you start out with children and you want them to be kind. And you're right about Facebook. So maybe I need to join you in your sobriety there.
so I watch Facebook only on my children, and people always say, did you see this on there? I'm like, no, don't go there, thanks though. So yeah, it's important to,
But thank
Be
you
kind.
for what you're trying to do. I've always heard wonderful things about you, and that you are a person that thinks for yourself. I think that's wonderful. And meeting you, I know how smart you all are. And I just know that you can get this done. And if you're not happy a year from now, 2 years from now, do what just happened. But while we're here, let us help you as best we can, but work together.
I've carried, ever since I became a businessman, I've always carried a day planner. In my day planner, and I was not prepared for this, okay? I won't tear up or anything, but I carry a note from my son when he left my house one time that he sent back to me. I have that in there. I carry a note from my wife that was kind of important to me. I keep those in there. I also carry one piece of paper that had something when I was becoming a leader. It was when I was young. It says, gone are the days as an individual contributor. You no longer achieve results on your own. You now deliver results with the thought of other people. Your language should reflect that. I think we all need to reflect that. If we can reflect that, I think we can make progress.
I agree.
And I will say
You can
one-
get things done, even though they're bad things that have to be done, or bad things we have to say, we can still get it done with kindness. I honestly believe that. I'm not sure we started that way. I know I didn't start that way.
We all grow.
I do think it's important that as city council members, that we remember why we are here to represent the citizens, and it's very important to think individually. Each person needs to have their own individual thoughts. And as we're thinking, who we represent in the city and why we're all here, for the good of the citizens.
I gotta tell y'all something.
I'm scared of where this is going.
So Adrian one time said, as a council member, somebody asked him at a meeting, said, what is the vision of the city? And it stuck with me. I think we have 5 visions of the city. That's what he said. And that stuck with me because we do not need 5 visions. We need one vision that incorporates what you want. And also one day he walked out and did something. I said, you do know you're an influencer now. And he was like, didn't think of it that way. So he's, I think we can pull this together. I've been praying hard about it and I feel a peace about it. So we're gonna do this.
And to go full circle back to the beginning of the question that was first asked to Ms. Linda's, why did you vote, whatever. I voted for it because it's following our ordinance as it's currently written. If we want to change it, change it. But that's how it's written today.
For that reason. I understood where she was coming from, but I agree with what you're saying.
And we're not all going to get along, ever. I mean, we can pretend, but
Oh,
it's not going to happen.
you know what? I'll be married 45 years tomorrow, and many of you know my husband very, very well. I understand that completely. But bottom line, at the end of the day, we still come together and you can walk out and still be kind. And thank you for listening to me, or hearing what I had to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
If nobody comes up, we need to talk about golf carts.
Okay.
Because I really want to hear it.
Can I come
Okay.
back?
Yes, you can. It's about something different, right, Tim?
It is.
So that's wonderful.
In the packet I gave you this morning was some of Tim's good ideas. And I just wanted to share it with everybody. So, I'm always thinking about ways to improve the city, honestly, I am. And so I thought of some things that could make the city more sustainable and more livable. And I'm just gonna mention a couple of them. And some of them are out there. I will admit they're out there, and they're probably not doable. But some of them, I think we could take a look at. First one is miniature urban forests on public lands in the city. Expand the tree program. What I mean by that is not force homeowners to add trees that lost them during a storm, but maybe provide the resource. We're a tree city. Work through the Arbor Day Foundation to help with that. Have more tree giveaways, something like that. Wetland parks with detention ponds for flood control and recreation. Solar energy streetlights. Public EV charging stations as we get more electric cars and we have more people coming here. Urban community garden, which we talked about, and they also have fruit orchards that's available to do that. It's rainwater collection and reuse by homeowners in the city. This is far out, but we have a parking problem here when we allow tourists here. So maybe like an open air city shuttle, using clean energy to shuttle folks from, say, Florida Avenue and the way there that Adrian has recommended as a parking place, to the beaches. I don't know, something. Walking paths and bike lanes combined with golf cart trails and golf carts up the major streets. Golf cart electric friendly community, charge for gas golf carts or charge an extra fee. I know that wouldn't be popular, but it's just, that's a pollutant. This one I think is doable, and I think you have to take a hard look at. permeable parking spaces, not just in homes, but in the city. As we develop parking lots and do things, there are lots of permeable, not just gravel. There's pavers that have gravel in between, and they're close to being 100% permeable. There's some other technology out there for that to help with our water. 8th Street Canal, an overflow dam that you can adjust with a walkway. So when we have a storm surge situation, we could dam that thing up. When we have different flow rates, we could let water out of it and control the exit of it. Reuse of filtered water from our future 80-acre retention pond. I already talked about the watershed. Ecotourism, a scuba diving park, snorkeling off the jetty, a turtle hospital. And we have some city property. I've seen them. They're in some communities. I don't think it might attract tourists. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it would be a neat thing to have in the city. I think we need innovative ADA beach access. I'm not just talking Moby mats, and there are some other things out there, and I've mentioned this to you before. I was surprised that we don't have a trash recycling program, and maybe in the South, being from Nebraska, that's not a thing we do here. And I understand they're not necessarily profitable, but it's good for our environment. Pursue environmentally friendly grant programs. There are several grants out there that I've mentioned, so the Coastal Partnership Initiative, it's for local coastal management projects in 4 program areas: resilient communities, public access to the coastal community, working for waterfronts and coastal stewardship. The Living Shoreline Program, help with storm surge and flood control, seawalls, jetties, dune protection, that's available. And then in our comprehensive plan, it talks about the city is responsible for acquisition of property to protect sensitive lands, which wetlands is defined as one. And it mentions 2 grants in there: the Resilient Florida grant from Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and the Parks and Open Space program from the DEP also. I think we ought to be looking at those and some areas that we might want to use for that. And then I'll just throw this in here, back to the comprehensive plan. In the comprehensive plan, element number 6 is called the conservation element. And what it says, and I'm just going to summarize it: Mexico Beach shall manage growth and protect local natural resources in a manner that's consistent with the city's ability. Objective 6.2, protect the quality and quantity of environmentally sensitive lands. Policy 6.2.3, protect environmentally sensitive lands. And then lastly, policy 6.2.8, wetlands are locally designated as environmentally sensitive and shall be afforded maximum protection with applicable planning controls. I don't think we're doing that. And I would like to see, I understand private property rights, and I understand how easy it is to get mitigation for a wetland, but I think that's something we ought to be looking at in the future. We don't have a lot left. Let's try and protect it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Anyone else?
Diane Kenny, Kimco. Along those lines, Tim, I want to bring up golf cart parking again. Being from Peachtree City, where we had 100 miles of golf cart trails, we've got a lot of people coming into this city very soon. And I talked about it with the Sweetwater. They talked about filling in the canal. They talked about parking lots and also parking at Parker Park. They really need to think about putting in golf cart parking, because all those homes are up north. They're going to have golf carts. And if they don't have parking, they're going to be coming down to the beach, and then what? Where are they going to park to get to the beach? If you could get the developer to put golf cart parking in there in the canal or across the way, that would be fantastic. I think that would alleviate a lot of problems, and then they could walk across to the beach and not impose on anybody.
Michael and I actually met with Sweetwater, and that was one of the things, or one of the asks that we had with them. And there's hydro study that we asked for when they fill in that canal, where was that water gonna go? And so they're gonna get that with us. The parking and golf carts were discussed, and I think that they're on board.
I had talked to him about it. He
Yeah.
seemed like he was willing to do it.
Yeah.
We should take advantage of that. That's gonna alleviate a lot of car parking.
And it's gonna be coming back to us soon, I guess, with their development.
Their goal's the end of the year.
Yeah, so,
Right.
What? The goal is for them to come back to apply for their site work development order prior to the end of the calendar year.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
That's what I didn't hear at the time. I didn't hear time.
very good discussions tonight, and I appreciate the civility that we're having, these conversations. So anyone else have anything they have to say? Any other concerns about golf carts, Mr.
Well, it came up this morning, and I was hoping to come up tonight. I actually want to sit and listen to the registration of golf carts. I want everybody, I want to hear what people think.
This is our time to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, we can
Oh,
talk.
I can talk about that. too.
We-
Yeah, I want to hear about what the public thinks we should do about bringing back those permits, because
We have them and we don't mind paying the money.
I don't mind paying
Have the
either.
permit.
$20, I talked to Lieutenant.
20?
I mean, it was 15.
I think it was 15. I think 20 is
20 to 25.
20 or 25 a year. I think people would be willing to pay that.
And a different sticker than what we used to have the same stickers the boat.
It used to be a year behind.
But now we're gonna do, I think, I was gonna bring it for the council for the next meeting, but different sticker for the golf carts and charge. And I got to put the word, I just done it, started today, but for $20.
Yeah.
Well, I'll own it. I'm part of the reason it's gone. I was the clerk at the time, and so few people did it, it wasn't worth the staff time for the revenue it generated. And I presented it to the council, and they said, yeah, let's get rid of it. And what we did is we were a year behind the boat ramp stickers. So if the boat ramp was green this year, next year golf carts were green. And it kept having to buy different stickers to help keep costs down. And I said, why do we do this? It costs too much money to enforce this because nobody's doing it. So I think if we bring it back, we just need to enforce that everybody does it.
Yeah.
And then it'll be worth it.
What do you do with a golf cart like the rentals?
I think all those rental companies will have to have stickers on
I
each
think they
one.
just
Say
have,
what?
I think they just have to buy their own.
No, I
stickers.
understand that, but you're getting a sticker for 1 year, right? What about, but a homeowner that's not gonna use, or a resident, isn't gonna use their golf cart every day?
So you're talking about if they trailer it here for like a week?
No, I'm talking about people like my neighbors, they have a golf cart that sits in their,
Costs them $20 a year?
Yeah.
yeah, and that's fine, that's what I'm saying, but it doesn't. So what we're saying though is now we're gonna have 200 different people using a golf cart throughout the year. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, you're talking about like they rent their
They
house
rent
out
their,
so that.
say they rent it
so-
down the street here.
It's fine, because it will be attached, that sticker will be attached to that house, no matter who's on it. It won't be
Yeah,
attached
I
to.
understand, but what
Yeah.
I'm saying is multiple people benefit from that where a resident is gonna pay for that for just days. Is that right?
Question, how about a tag golf course? They are, slow speed vehicles. Will they have to be permitted also? They have a tag on them already.
Yeah, I think
I don't think
that's
so.
one of the things I was gonna bring up. I think if we, you remember Lieutenant talking this morning, he talked a little bit about LSVs, which are low vehicles, but they basically do over 25 miles an hour and are allowed on a highway that does 35. If your golf cart only does 20 miles an hour, you're only allowed on a 30 mile an hour, right? And we don't have 30 mile an hour, so you're pretty much restricted to streets.
The question I had though was, a tag vehicle already, all sheriff department has to pull up and see that tag, so that he can identify you who you are.
Right.
So
So
do
I
they
don't
have
think
to
they
be
would have
permitted
to.
also?
I would think they would not have to because they are identifiable.
Right.
And our stickers are to identify them.
And they're paying tag fees every year.
Yeah.
When you have stickers on the golf cart, and hey, I've never hidden the fact I'm all for registering the little carts. Make sure that this time, that those stickers are big, so that when there is a problem, I can see that sticker, not one of these itty bitty things, and I can call and say, go check this out, number 9. Make them big, y'all, because otherwise it's useless. And make them put in one spot, because a lot of people used to hide them under the seats. And while they were supposed to have them in a certain spot, they didn't. So think of details like that, because the more that we can report the people who are disobeying the rules, the quicker that the sheriff's department can crack down on them, and maybe we can stop some of this, because it's terrible.
It's kind of like going through, like a little town we used to go through. Everybody knew you slowed down. You did not speed. Well, you know, you think, well, it's a speed trap. Well, we're gonna be a golf cart trap here, because we have got to, once you enforce it, strictly enforce it, people will stop.
And make sure the fines are large enough to make them think twice.
And make sure you charge enough for these registrations that I, who don't have a golf cart, am not spending my tax dollars to make up the difference. I would think our staff, maybe Mr. Manning could do some calculations on who in the staff of the city might be taking care of registering and et cetera, and collecting the money and whatever, and figure out how much it costs us during the year. If $20 won't cover it, then we need to charge more. I would think it's going to save money for the sheriff's department, because it'll make their job quicker and easier. But it's going to take some staff. It's time.
Diane, I lived in Noonan, so I know Peachtree City very well. Love their setup. Did they ever have to register golf carts there?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Every year.
Every year?
Yeah, it was, it started out at $20. I think it went up to $25.
I think we ought to start at least at 25.
I don't think $25 is out of it.
I don't think it is for a year. Really.
Yeah, for a whole year.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if you didn't have to find a system that we didn't have to do it
And
yearly,
then if it's
like
not enough,
5-year
you
or
can raise
4-year or something like that.
Didn't have to what?
Look at something like that.
Say what, Fred?
Rich, I didn't hear you.
I think it'd be nice to find a system that we could do maybe a 2-year or a 5-year
Oh,
or
yeah,
something
okay.
along that line, have an option, so you're not back at it every year.
Less paperwork, yeah.
So I just recommend that somehow you make this so the sheriff's department can verify it. I don't know if that's possible, have it on a web page they can go to, or, I don't know. But having a list could be outdated and make it complicated for them. So think about that when you move places.
And I have a strong hatred for golf carts, so I've made that clear. But maybe it's because I don't have one. But anyway, it drives me crazy when I'm trying to work and managing HOAs. I get stuck behind one every time, and I think
I do agree with that.
it's just we're going to have to embrace it. It's not going anywhere.
No,
We have to have a plan for it.
I think we did, exactly, we're gonna have a
Yeah.
plan.
Also, some of the parking, like on 5th Street and 98, some of them are longer than others, and so they're sticking out into the lane. And when you get vehicles going each way, it's difficult. You don't want to hit somebody's golf cart. I mean,
Well, if you do. Their fault, no, I'm just kidding. You know, I think Lieutenant Williams addressed that this morning
Yeah.
as well.
So just so I know, for when we draft it up, do you want to do the 20 or the 25?
25.
25.
Amen.
He said 100, okay. 125, anybody out there?
My thought being, I know Rich mentioned to try to get it to last several years, but how quickly do people turn over those golf carts? You know, so I think a year is a definite deal. Because I don't know how often people trade them in and.
I just know when I go buy my
Yeah.
tags, I buy
Yeah.
whatever length they give me.
Yeah.
I think a 2-year one or something here.
Can we give them a driving test?
If the new owner buys the cart, he's gotta come back in and re-register, that's how we did it.
Yeah.
So they pay the $25 again, they get a new sticker, that's how it works, just like the car.
Until this morning, I thought they were giving out more warnings than citations. And it seems like that's gonna change as of now, but was there a system in place where you could see how many warnings a particular person got? If not, you need a registration, so they can say, okay, I've got 6 warnings, I've got another warning, so what? So
Is our deputy still?
You've been warned.
When they give them a warning, they do have that in their system, because they had the person's name.
Right, they should have written warnings, not verbal.
McSweeney, I'm putting you on the spot. Do you guys track when you give citations or warnings to golf
Yeah,
carts?
so it's under a master name index, so they can run the individual when they're stopped on our computer if they've been stopped from us before. And it will show that there was a warning issued to them. Now, that's only if they're called on Highway 98. Because Highway 98 is what covers the state statute. Everything on a city street is gonna be city ordinance. So the
Or the
ones,
sidewalk.
that's the ones we're catching on 98, so those are the ones that we track.
Is that by the person is that by the person you stop or the license plate?
By the person we stop.
So that could be in a rental situation, right?
Because there is one particular cart, and I'll leave it, that has been stopped 3 times by 3 different individuals, and it's from the same apartment complex.
Yeah.
And the last time there was a phone call made to the owner of the cart, that if his cart was called again, he would be receiving the fines along with some other sanctions that would be imposed on it because it's on a state highway.
Yeah.
I think you told me today that the fine was 50, 100, 150. First 50.
That's what it used to be.
Used to be.
That was under Mexico Beach when it was under the ordinance violations was the fines. And I can go back to when I worked for the police department with Mexico Beach, the stickers, we used the boat ramp stickers because they all renewed the same time the boat ramp renewed. So if you got behind the golf cart, if that sticker was a different color than that year's decal, then you knew they didn't re-register the golf cart.
Right.
So we wrote a city ordinance ticket that they had to come down to the city hall and pay.
Does Mexico Beach get the fine? What is it, they count?
It depends if
If it's an ordinance, it comes.
If it's on 98, it's a UTC, that goes to the county.
That goes to
If
county.
they're on the city streets, then it goes to the city.
Got it.
So how are we gonna enforce that? Like if somebody's on Fifth Street?
That big man right there.
No, but they're on Fifth Street, out on 98, and they're parked and they don't have a sticker. How are we gonna report it and have the city, who's gonna go and tell them you owe this much money because you didn't have a sticker?
Is it code or?
Code enforcement
And
and the sheriff's department both.
There's
Yeah.
We have been going down on the beach on the weekends and finding the owners that they're parked to those cars.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
You know, before the time of the sheriff department, when we had our police department, I just tell you real quickly, I had a neighbor that came here and they brought their own golf cart from Georgia. And my neighbors were very good friends, but their children came in with their children. And I'm telling you that they let a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old loose on a golf cart.
Oh, no.
Can you believe that? By themselves. I mean, some people just don't think.
How you gonna enforce somebody from Georgia bringing a golf cart down here to use for a week?
Yeah.
They don't have a sticker, they have to.
They gotta get a sticker too.
Yep.
Same as they do for voting.
All right.
Yep.
There you go.
Here's my golf cart.
They what?
I really think it'll be just like training children or something. If we are very strict at first and we really find people and they find out, hey, when you go to Mexico Beach, you better have a sticker on your golf cart. If we're tough to begin with, we might not have to worry about it.
I've heard word in Georgia travels fast.
Oh, yeah.
We got a lot of people from Georgia down here.
Yeah.
And a lot of problem is from Gulf County.
Yes.
They ride here too.
Cross 386.
They cross 386 and come in and ride, go to the stores. So
What do we do about that then?
They don't have a sticker.
They get
Did the same thing.
They get a fine.
No sticker? Yes, yes.
If we use their boat ramp, we have to use their stickers. If they use our boat ramp, they have to use ours.
Make some money off our neighbors.
You can't come in
There
there
you
and
go.
Mexico Beach Boat
Yep.
Ramp.
Yes, sir.
Sticker is gone. St. Joe.
Do you want to provide a discount to residents versus Gulf County people?
No.
Or do you want to increase to 25 for like Gulf County?
I don't think so. I think just across the board.
City,
Would you
yeah.
think across the board, guys? Across the board. I think it's easier just
It's
to.
higher if you want a beach driving permit on there, over there, they don't give you a break for being a Mexico Beach resident.
If they can afford the golf cart, they can afford it.
Very good.
Drive a golf cart that much to save enough on gas to pay for it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Okay, so we'll put that on an agenda for an ordinance.
Yeah, we'll shoot for the next one.
Okay.
But the following one, I believe.
All right, any other citizen discussions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. That's what we're here for.
You rent a golf cart out to somebody, and then they go in and do something wrong. Who is then responsible?
The owner.
The owner of the golf cart. Well, how will you, I don't understand how you're gonna find out, that. So the person who's actually driving the golf cart has no responsibility because the owner of the golf cart?
They let them use it.
Ask the gentleman in the back.
Catch them on the golf cart, it'll be the individual that's on the golf cart. The decals are gonna come in to where the individuals are letting them run across Highway 98 without a tag on it, and there's no way we can figure out who that cart belongs to. So basically, they're running it like an LSV, but not being an LSV, and they're taking up the parking space across on 98 where vehicles would park.
Right.
Because you gotta catch them getting on and off of it, because 9 out of 10 times when you start going down the beach looking for them, no one knows who owns that car.
So when it's moving, it's the driver, but when it's vacant, it's the owner.
So let's say they rent their house out and they let their individual take that golf cart and they go across 98. The owner of that sticker is who would get the citation. Then it would be up to them whether they want to take their funds back out of that renter or not.
The whole owners have the damage responsible.
The renters.
The most owners
Yeah.
have the damage responsible.
Yeah.
If they get a ticket, you have that from the refund.
Okay.
And most of the rentals have the name of the rental company on them somewhere.
Yeah. And y'all talked about the rental companies, they would have to have stickers as well. And that way, even though that they got their name on it, it still reverts back to, it's a golf cart, it's running on our roads, it's gotta have a sticker.
But what about, but you gotta think about most of the rental carts are roadworthy. They have license.
Well, if they have license, they won't have to.
Right, so
Exactly.
you're not.
Exactly. So that would,
Right.
exactly, that
Oh.
wouldn't be something they have to have.
I think all the rental companies just about have street, they're all street.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think the first one was not, and then I think they did.
He sold most of those.
Oh,
He pretty much found, if he only has maybe one or two, and he's even got that, but most of his are all street legal.
Okay.
Well, you can rent one from Port St. Joe, rent it.
Yeah.
So, but if they bring it here.
If they
it's gotta
have a
sticker.
tag, if it's tagged for the road, they don't have to have a sticker.
Right, right.
So,
I don't think all theirs are.
if they're not, then they would have to have a sticker. I think it's gonna be a lot about educating.
Yeah.
Educating, and I think the man in the back will really educate them when they give them, when he gives them a citation.
Yeah.
I know it would mean,
I think he spent some time educating last week.
Let's not make it 1 to 2 years.
yeah.
Let's not make it another 1 to 2 years on education. Let's just go ahead and load them.
Yes, absolutely.
They'll learn quick.
Yeah, they will. Like, if we just follow, in my opinion, any ordinance we have, if we're not enforcing it, we might as well not have it. So we need to look at it and see, why is it not being enforced?
Now, they might cost more, but I would be like the state. Just like on your little tag, it's got notches cut in it, so you can't just go up there to my car tag and peel my year sticker off.
Yeah.
Those stickers might cost a little bit more, but I can tell you it happened to us before that ordinance was removed.
You know, most of the local people on golf carts, like I go up and down Fifth Street, when you come up behind them, most of them pull off the road. You know. But sometimes you get, yeah, I know. But, I mean, sometimes you got a cart full of kids, you know, young kids, and I mean, they ain't gonna pull off. They're gonna be trying to do wheelies.
I think the pushback you're gonna get is from the Gulf County people, when you think about
Yeah.
it, right? 'Cause they're not gonna know about the program to begin with.
Well, we'll
They're gonna all
educate
be
them.
coming over here.
We'll educate them.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. So,
There you go.
you know, you might wanna go to their council
I mean,
or
if I
somebody as a whole, a governing body, and say, this is what we're doing, and this is what your people are going to have to do in order to come over here. And if they don't want, you know, if they don't wanna pay for that, well, then they're not gonna come over here. And that frees up our parking spots, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, there you
I'm
go.
saying, I know how this works.
Good deal.
We won't have
All right. Greg,
Well, that might be an exception.
excuse me.
Can we do more with signage?
All right, I want to talk about
So they
signage.
can't say, I didn't know, we
That's
just
a
has
good
2
question.
signs that tell you.
They just drive past 3 if you put more signs up.
Can't say, I didn't know, you know. it's probably different.
It might be street worthy. I don't know, we'd have to look at the cost to just have a sign on the stop sign.
Yeah.
No carts past this point or whatever.
Can we get
I don't know. Or by the stop signs or somewhere, you know what I'm talking about, like something that just tells them, if you stopping at this stop sign, if you go past it, you can be illegal.
That'll work as well as no commercial traffic.
Exactly. Exactly, but, you know, it's a thought.
But wait a minute, I gotta thank the city because on Fifth Street, it is improved.
Good.
I saw one truck in the street this week, and I stopped him and I talked to him and I said, hey partner, I said, you can't stop in the street to unload, you gotta go over there in the gravel area. He said, okay, I didn't know, thanks man. And I mean, that was it.
That's
But
good.
other than that, Coca-Cola, everybody else, they're going over in the
Good.
gravel.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I think the last guy in the very back that has, your backs are off to him, had a question back there. didn't he?
Oh,
Yeah.
hey.
Has anybody from the city talked to any other communities in Florida about their golf cart rules and prices? Instead of us trying to reinvent the wheel, see what they're all.
That's a good point. We can do some
Everybody
research
equals.
and bring that to the table. I think we're all pretty good at researching things around here, so we can definitely do that.
Yeah, the villages, that's wild there.
Okay, so,
Wonderful, sorry.
any other constructive
Yeah.
topics that y'all would like to discuss tonight?
I got one thing I'd like to bring up.
Yes, sir.
I'd like, Art Dillard's my name, I live on
Hey,
Miramar
Art.
Drive. Been here probably almost 50 years. Is there a study being done on the jetty wall? What's the situation on the jetty wall? I've heard rumors.
Going from 7 foot to 17 foot. It's ahead of the pier, from what I understand.
Yeah, so I got an update from Ryan actually this afternoon that the draft of the environmental assessment for the jetty is complete. The goal is for construction to start in early 2024.
You know, what is the goal to do there on the jetty wall? What is the purpose?
Essentially to stop having to dredge so much at the mouth of the canal.
To extend it out?
It's
It
gonna be
is,
extended.
I believe it is extended.
Extended 10
All the
more
studies
feet.
they've done over the last 50 years,
Yeah.
all the engineers have said, all it will do is make the west side of the canal go further out if you extend the jetties. Now, I just don't see a real goal in that, if that's the case.
I think the Army Corps did a study.
The Army Corps of
34 years
Engineers
ago.
have done several
Yeah.
studies on it
Yeah.
over the last 50 years.
Made recommendations.
And they recommended you do not extend that jetty wall. But if you do,
That's true.
all you're doing is building a sand on the west side of that canal, just further on, further and out. So, that being said, that's when they was, sir.
Yeah,
17 feet?
yeah, been dredging for a while, so same,
They're gonna extend it 17 feet?
No, the extension is 10 foot, it's currently at 7.
Okay.
So it'll be 17 feet.
and my understanding of jetties, and I just started researching them, you know, from being here and hearing about the jetties and what we were doing, is to keep the sand from our beaches to go into our canal and blocking it up, like he said.
Yes,
And
ma'am, that is.
logically, extending it out would stop that sand.
It will
But
not.
But
Moves it further up.
it just moves it further out,
It
so
moves it
how do
further.
we get out there to dredge at that point? All right, you know, then we're just moving out the dredging process further out.
That's what you're doing, actually.
Yeah.
You're extending your dredging. The dredge, you have to dredge more and more.
I forget what the Army Corps said back, it was about 35 years ago. They said you'd have to go out so far and then you'd have to have a turn.
You'd have to go past, heard you have to go past the second, sandbar.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, because you have
And
a
that's
turn
way
that
out
runs along the shore too, not just in and out.
And it's the way the water comes in.
We have a predominantly west wind.
Yes.
And that's the waves come from that direction. And when they do come that direction, that's every time they do, we have big waves close to the canal.
Yeah.
So
The canal
to make
who
that
is
fit.
funding that extension on the jetty?
FEMA.
FEMA, so why not do it?
Yeah.
If they're doing it,
Because
why are
they're-
they doing it? If
Do we
it's
have
study-
to
Because they're gonna cost us more in the long run to dredge it.
dredge it? That's what, you have to dredge more. That's what he's saying.
You have to dredge more,
Yes.
out.
Yeah,
Further out.
You might dredge further out.
Yeah.
Not have to dredge more.
Well, it depends how much of that hole you take out, because they used to take that hole down.
Yeah.
And all the people who've been here for many, many years, which we have, apparently you have and I have, we've seen studies done on it time and time again, and it's always the same thing, the same answer. You can build a jetty to the buoy line, and you'd have a land form all the way to the buoy line.
Right.
So what- and I think it's just a position.
I don't remember
You know when
what
they
years
did
that
that study?
I have no, I can't remember.
I think one was from 78, I think.
It's somewhere in the 70s, another one done in the 80s, and maybe one in the
They
90s.
building the wing for the jetties, I'm not gonna argue with the deal, but, and I went to the Army Corps. They build the wings on the jetties out, Mr. Dillon, you know this, and they're doing it to trap the sand, where the sand won't wash into the canal to block the canal. Now, I know you ain't gonna agree with me, that's why I didn't wanna say that. No,
It's okay to disagree.
I understand, but this is the theory behind it, and you can argue where you go. But they building the wings to hold the jetties, to hold the sand, to keep from blocking the canal, and the dredge can get in the little wing to pump the sand out, to keep from blocking the canal.
So it's, in my thoughts, with it coming from the west, it'd be better if they weren't wings, they were more,
It's like a little, if you look at the drawings on it, it's sort of like I call it a wing, but it's like a little, it goes out and traps that sand to keep it from
I know
coming.
that's the theory, but.
And the dredge
You're
go around that
right,
pump out.
you're right, it will trap part of it, they'll have to go around there and dredge that out.
That's the theory behind it.
We get a lot of sand, it's still gonna come around the mouth.
I'm not gonna argue that point with you, because I've been here too. But, that's what the theory is, though, to stop the dirt, the sand from coming in the canal, and putting the dredge there and pumping it out, keep it pumped out.
And I would say that if FEMA's funding this, then there's, had to be a study that said this is the way it needs to be designed, I would think. So, hopefully we'll just,
I hope it works.
hope it works, yeah, keep your fingers crossed.
It's a man-made canal and man will have to keep it up.
That's exactly right, we always gonna have to dredge.
That's
That's
right.
it, yeah,
Nature's gonna reclaim it.
yep. Okay, any other topics? I think we had a very productive town hall meeting, and I really, truly appreciate every comment, everybody's input. And I'm sure Micah's got a nice little list for us for the future. Yeah.
If I may,
Yes.
one more item. I did talk to Ryan this afternoon. He's going to be back in town in 2 weeks. So I asked him to give us a kind of in-depth FEMA presentation when he's here, since we have the 4th council meeting of the month that time.
Okay. Perfect. And don't we have a meeting on Friday?
Tomorrow. We have a meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. as well.
I know we have a meeting tomorrow for a
Oh.
workshop, but you and I have
Yes.
a meeting on Friday with something about
FEMA.
FEMA. We're good. All right. Do y'all want to adjourn?
Do we have to make that? Is this a formal meeting?
No.
I'll make the motion.
We'll adjourn.